Honestly, you think China's a problem? Check its useful idiots right here. Am I too harsh? You be the judge. You see, I was going to start the show with the latest on the coronavirus and on the pathetic mess in Victoria. I'll get to that in a minute. But then I read today not one and not two, but three apologists for China. All today. People urging us to kowtow, to shut up. Now it's true. There is a good argument, maybe not a respectable one, but a good argument for us to do just that, to shut up and crawl to China. But if you are going to make that argument, just say it straight. Just say, this dictatorship is too vicious and too strong for us to cross, and there's a lot of money to make in keeping quiet and just trading with it. So let's put profit before principles, because freedom, it isn't worth the fight. You say that and I'll say, well, I'll give you points at least for being frank. For these three guys today, dear God. The left's Nicholas Whitlam, son of former Labor Prime Minister Gough. Gareth Evans, the former Labor Foreign Minister. And David Brophy, a Sydney University academic. They just made me feel like I needed a shower, like I'd just been buried under horse manure. You take Whitlam, writing in the Australian newspaper today, saying, hey, it's no big deal if a Chinese company that's actually closely linked to China's aggressive dictatorship, no big deal if it has this 99-year lease on the Darwin port, no big deal that a Chinese company close to the dictatorship has access to the port's infrastructure, its communications, its plans and its people. A port that is right next to a naval base used by us and the Americans, and one that will probably need to expand to meet China's growing threat. Well, that's an interesting argument. But where Whitlam really crossed the line was in insisting that China's savagery is actually none of our business. Sure, he said, China has, yes, created military bases throughout the South China Sea, 27 of them, in fact, as part of its illegal theft of that sea. But Whitlam said that has nothing to do with Australia. And I say, this guy's got to be joking. That sea to our north, in fact, includes some of our most vital shipping lanes. And China, by stealing this territory, can now shut them down if it wants, much more easily, and strangle us. That's none of our business? But guess what else Whitlam says is none of our business? He says whatever our thoughts are about China's treatment of Uyghurs, what he actually means but doesn't quite say is China putting up to 1 million Muslims in concentration camps, whatever we think about its new laws in Hong Kong, and what he means there but doesn't say is China jailing Democrat politicians, these are internal matters, he says. It's just shocking. This is like Whitlam taking dictation from China's dictator. Maybe that's the meaning of the word. That's what the dictator says. Jailing democracy activists and committing cultural genocide. These are just internal matters for China, and democracy should shut the hell up about it. I just wonder, I ask Whitlam, was Hitler's genocide of the Jews also an internal matter? Not our business? Now, if that's all not bad enough, along comes dear old Gareth Evans, the former Foreign Affairs Minister, who's just recorded a podcast for AsiaLink. Now, to be fair to Evans, he at least admits that we should push back against China stealing the South China Sea, destroying Hong Kong's democracy, and imprisoning Muslim Uyghurs. But then he tells us we should watch our language, not be so rude or honest with China.
You don't dig any more holes, you modify your language. I mean, what Talleyrand used to call excessive zeal has characterised, far too much of our public political discourse over the last few years.
And Evans says, don't exaggerate. China isn't that big a threat. I mean, he doesn't want world domination or anything.
Obviously wants to recreate so far as possible those kowtow relationships with the countries of Southeast Asia, which China enjoyed in the distant past. But the notion that China is hell-bent on some kind of global domination, that it's even hell-bent on global ideological domination, is, I think, completely overstated.
Ah, well, China is not into world domination if you meant, sending armies to every corner of the planet, but it has still managed to invade Tibet, and it's still gone to war with Vietnam, and it did kill Indian troops this year over a disputed border that it wants to get more of, and it has taken the South China Sea. It also claims some islands that Japan says are its own, and it threatens to invade Taiwan, and it sent warships into territory that's claimed by the Philippines, which is why the Philippines Foreign Minister yesterday tweeted, China, how politely can I put it? Let me see. Get the F out. You're like an ugly oaf forcing your attentions on a handsome guy who wants to be a friend. Forget all that. Wipe that history from your mind. You just trust Uncle Gareth Evans, who says all that China wants, small thing, what's the deal? Is to be far more of a rule maker than a rule taker. To which I say, hello, isn't that exactly the problem? This dictatorship wants to set the rules for the rest of us, which, as Evans himself has just recommended, includes limiting our free speech. That's the global domination that I really fear, not Chinese commandos suddenly sailing into Sydney Harbour or turning up in Port Phillip Bay to invade Melbourne. Now, what I most fear is China bullying us into shutting our mouths with Australian VIPs like Gareth Evans saying, oh, it's all for our own good. Let us modify our speech. And then to top it all off, there was the babbling in today's Age newspaper and the Sydney Morning Herald by Dr. David Brophy, a Sydney University academic who seems to think it's actually the US, not China, that's the real power we've got to watch out for. He says if Australia does join a war to save democratic Taiwan from a Chinese invasion, and he hopes we never do, we'd do it for the same motivations that had us fighting past immoral wars, just to prove our worth as an American ally. Well, how about that? Not one word there about actually defending freedom, abroad and here, from a great tyranny. I tell you, if we don't help to defend Taiwan's freedom, who'd help to defend our own? Reading that sludge, I felt sold out. Those three people all in one day, variously telling us to shut up, stay out, give in to a dictatorship. I mean, freedom. Is a value like that really so dead and forgotten?